Good morning and welcome to our short sale webinar today. Today we're going to be talking about how to really utilize the last 12 months or maybe a little bit longer of distressed properties in order to leverage your income and your real estate success or your success as a real estate agent in 2014. My name is Melissa Zavala from Short Sale Expediter, and on the screen right now, I have a link to our website. In just a minute, we're going to get started. I'd like to tell you that this webinar is being recorded. So if you're listening to it as a recording, thanks so much. And for the rest of you, just know that this webinar is being recorded. If you have any questions, please type them into the question area, and I will try to get to them as I go through the presentation. So again, welcome to everyone just getting on the line, and we're going to get started here right now. So Short Sale Expediter, and the reason I show this is because all the answers to any questions that agents might have about short sales can generally be answered on this website. So I wanted to show it to you. I wanted you to know where it was on the internet and what it has on it. So if you wake up in the middle of the night or you're going crazy after hours and you have a question about a short sale, there's a lot of information for you right here. Over here, if you scroll down the side, there's actually a search menu. See that right here? And you can type in different things that you're interested in learning more about. If you're struggling with a junior lien holder, you can type in junior lien holder, for example. And I've just done that here, and you hit return. And you're going to get a list of all sorts of articles about junior lien holders and short sales. So short sales and bankruptcy, how to negotiate with a junior lien holder, and so on and so forth. So the site is here for you to use in that way. There are over 600 articles for you on the site, all related to short sales, distressed properties, how to obtain short sale leads, all the ins and outs of the banking institutions, and things like that. Additionally, any events that we have upcoming are plugged right here. They might be a local live event, workshop, or training, or online webinars. Because we are coming to an end of 2013, what we've got going on right now are some business planning webinars for the following 2 Thursdays. So feel free to sign up for those at your convenience. So going on now, let's get started with the webinar. Let me just close this out. So what we're going to talk about today is dominating the short sale market in the distressed property world. Again, my name is Melissa Zavala. I'm a broker in the state of California. That is my license number for anyone that's interested in that. And the website I just showed you was shortsaleexpediter.com. We are always pleased to help agents from across the nation who are struggling with short sales. That's a complimentary service. Just call our office or email us, info@shortsaleexpediter.com or 760-839-3838. That's our phone number, 760-839-3838. We do provide administrative processing of short sales, and so that's where we make our money. So if you're wondering, what's going on and why you're on this call, that's what we do. We provide free distressed property education throughout the United States, and we do provide short sale administration, obtaining short sale approvals for agents that don't want to do it themselves, that really want to be in the field selling property. And we'll talk just briefly about that at the very end of the webinar. So as I mentioned already, I'm a broker in the state of California, not an attorney or an accountant. So anyone facing the situations that I'm describing right now should always seek the advice of an attorney or an accountant. So short sales can be a hidden gold mine. Now, of course, lots of things have changed over the last several years, but there's still a lot of possibility in the short sale world for the coming year. So don't rule it out as a way to make some money in the coming year. One of the things that I really love about short sales is they make a listing appointment really easy. And what I mean by that is when you go to a short sale listing, if the seller or the prospective seller already knows that this is going to be a short sale, then the certain issues which frequently come up in the listing appointment are really not going to be pertinent to your listing appointment. And that's going to be a discussion of the home's value and also a discussion of the commission. Because of course, in the situation of the commission, It's something that's paid for by the bank, and it's not something that the seller has to pay for out of their proceeds. And of course, the situation with purchase price is the same thing. If the seller is netting any money at the end of the sale, he or she's going to be really, really focused on how much money is going to be netted at the end of the transaction. But in the case of a short sale, since the seller's not going to walk away with any money, the issue of sales price is not as important. So kind of with those things off the table, of course, processing can be difficult and time consuming. But with those things off the table, it's easy to take a lot of listings. And what a great opportunity for us agents to, be in the forefront of the market. Additionally, with respect to statistics, right now there are still about 10 million people across the nation, 10 million homeowners, or families of homeowners, that are upside down on their mortgage. There's, according to some statistics that I found on Realty Track, there are 75 million homeowner families with mortgages across the nation. Okay, so 10 million of those are still underwater by 125% or more. There are another 8 to 9 million who are teetering on the fence. They owe about what their home is worth, or it said between 90 and 110%. So depending upon what the market does, a certain day of the week, they're kind of just breaking even. If they put equity in when they purchase their home, they've still lost that. So you can see there's still, so that would be, 18 million people. That's like 27% of the homeowners across the nation that have mortgages that are still impacted by this very slow recovery that we're in right now. So you can see that for a lot of people, there may be some need in 2014. So, those are some of the reasons that I like short sales. And I still think, despite some of the changes that are upcoming, that there's going to be many opportunities for short sales in the coming year. So, and you can really, if you have 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 of these listings, you can really do some good things to your business. First of all, if you can figure out a good way to leverage your time, then I swear you can maximize your current market position. In my office, where we're still processing lots and lots and lots of short sales, what we've found, or what we've noticed, is that certain agents, if they have one short sale in a neighborhood, like a condominium complex, or in a gated community, they may get another one very close in the same time frame. They may have 2 or 3. I can think of one agent that's closed 5 short sales in the same little condo complex. To him, in my mind, it seems as if the first person, just takes the plunge and lists, and then the second person says, oh, my neighbor listed, so I'm going to list too. So it kind of eases the burden or the pain, and they feel comfortable because they know that agent is already doing that for another person in their community. So I would really, so I think you can maximize your current market position by having your signs all over town, all over community, by leveraging that listing, even though it's a huge pain sometimes, into a lot more listings. I think that can be a really viable opportunity for you to get in front of a lot of people and just get a lot of listings. And of course, those listings and how you manage them and how you manage the referrals that come from them can fuel your real estate career for many, many years to come. There's something to be said about helping someone who's in trouble. And if you do a good job with that, it can really result in wonderful referrals for a long, long time. So here's why I think that there are still some great opportunities for short sale sellers. First of all, we still have the government's HAFA program, which provides some relocation assistance money for owner-occupied, so for owners, or for tenants. So if the home is empty, there are some other benefits to the HAFA program, but the seller would not get the relocation assistance funds. However, one of the other benefits, I guess I'll skip down to the 4th bullet here, is the anti-deficiency. So if the seller is in a state that has no anti-deficiency statutes, participating in the HAFA program is really, really great because it gives them that anti-deficiency protection. And what that means is that, let's say that they owe $100,000 on the loan and they sell the home for $75,000. The $25,000 is forgiven, meaning the bank cannot go after the seller for that $25,000. So that HAFA program creates that sort of protection for short sale sellers. So it's still a great opportunity. And I see lots of people still coming on the line, so thanks a lot for coming in. The webinar is being recorded, so if you're just logging into the recorded copy, then thanks again for joining us. If you have any questions, do write them in the question area. I do not have a moderator today, so I'll be looking at those and trying to answer them as I go along. If not, I will certainly respond to you at the end of the webinar. A couple of the other benefits are the other short sale incentive programs that are still available. Now, sadly, the Bank of America had a really great program which ended earlier this year, but some of the other lenders still have some money to give. Wells Fargo, I believe, has certain situations where they will give $5,000. California has something called the TAP program where you can get some money. And some of the banks, if they own your loan, such as Chase and Citi, if they own your mortgage, you still can get big bucks, sometimes up to $30,000 to $40,000 in certain situations. So there are still some other incentive program opportunities for short sale sellers. And of course, the allegations are, if you've been reading the news, that Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and the FHA have some streamlined program approvals. So allegedly, things are going to go a lot quicker with those short sales. I can't say that I've personally seen a real increase in speed in the last year or so. Definitely an increase in the processing time since 2007 and 8 when our company started doing short sales. However, nothing great in the last year or so. It's almost as if short sales have slowed a little, they've let people go. So the timeframes are about the same. So anyway, the cards are still aligned for short sale sellers in many respects because there are, banks are still doing them. Who knows in 5 years if the bank's going to be doing them. So this might be the time for certain sellers to make a decision to get off the fence and to move forward with the short sale. Now, of course, the one program that, to the best of my knowledge, is going away at the end of the year is the Mortgage Forgiveness Debt Relief Act of 2007. Which was enacted by Bush to protect certain short sale sellers from paying taxes on the amount of debt forgiven. Now, right now, I have not heard any rumors that that's going to be extended past the end of this year. So I will keep on the lookout. And of course, we always post right away on shortselexpediter.com if we do hear that news. But if folks are calling you or asking you about that, it's not right. Even if they list with you now, unless you close by the end of the year, and that today being, it's December right now, probably not going to be closing by the end of the year. So unless it's extended, they would not be able to take advantage of that program. Now, one side note is that there are many other opportunities for people that are struggling with respect to taxes and not having to pay taxes on debt forgiven. So, of course, you should always encourage your clients to check in with a really great CPA or accountant with respect to how that is going to be handled on their tax return. So let's continue to talk about short sale and foreclosure. Which is better for the seller? Especially now, maybe if the Mortgage Debt Relief Act is going away, what's better for the seller? They're going to ask you that at the listing appointment. Which is better for the seller with respect to future ability to borrow? Well, you've probably heard about lots of things in the news and lots of programs where people that participate in a short sale can buy again in 2 years or in 3 years, whereas in foreclosure, it could be 5 years or 7 years. So it depends on what the seller is planning to do in the future, but their future ability to borrow will be impacted by their participation in the short sale. Tax implications also. So we've just talked a little bit about the tax implications, but that's definitely an area that sellers are going to be concerned about, and they're going to want to look into further before kind of signing on the dotted line of your listing agreement. One of the things that many sellers want to know is, should they make a late payment? Should they miss payments? Sometimes people call my office and they say, the bank told me I had to miss payments. Well, I haven't, or else they won't look at my short sale. I haven't really seen a lot of lenders say that specifically. And so let's talk about the two components of that. We're going to talk about credit, and then we're going to talk about late payments. So your credit score goes down every time your client a person's credit score goes down every time they miss a payment with a 30-day late. So 30-day late, 60-day late, they have a notice of default. If they're in foreclosure status, it's going to decrease from there. So sometimes sellers have the money to make the payments, but they need to sell for some other reason, and they have to do it as a short sale. And so in those cases, and oftentimes you can do a short sale when the seller has not missed any payments. In fact, the HAFA program has some provisions for that. So there are certain short sale sellers that I've worked with that have never missed a payment, that have participated in HAFA, that have gotten relocation assistance, and they've been able to move on. The one particular person I'm thinking of right now, he was given 6 months more to his job and severance, so he had a letter that he was going to be losing his job, but he was able to make the payments because he had a severance money, and the 6 month, he was still earning income for the short period of time. So your credit score is going to be impacted by both the late payments and the short sale. And it seems from what people are telling me and what people have found is that the late payments have a much more serious impact than the short sale itself. In the situation of that particular gentleman that I just told you about, his score went down 35 points, 25 for the first lien and 10 for the second lien from his HAFA short sale. Now, should you make late payments? Well, of course, as realtors, we should never advise on that. But what we can't, we can give them some information about what late payments do to their credit. I have found that certain short sale lenders have investor guidelines, note holder guidelines, which say they won't even look at a short sale unless the person is 60 days late. So in those cases, what I do is I just process through the short sale. If they're still, and I tell them, continue to make your payments if you want to. And if I get to a point where the bank says, we're not going to move forward because Mr. So-and-so is not 60 days late, then I speak with the seller and I let him know that the bank has said that. And then I let them make that decision. Do they want to keep their home, continue to pay? Do they want to stop making payments? Maybe they just want to let it go to foreclosure. That's a decision that they need to make on their own. Any case, some other things that do come up with regard to what's better for the seller. There's a lot of issues of security clearance. Believe it or not, this comes up a lot. Someone works for the government on a government contract. They cannot have a foreclosure on their record, so they're going to be selling in a short sale. And there are some special programs, of course, for servicemen. So don't be surprised if you take a short sale from someone that has security clearance and says, I have to sell my home as a short sale because I cannot have a foreclosure to keep my security clearance. And the last thing, and one thing I think we've already addressed, is the deficiency judgment. Almost every listing appointment that I've been on for short sale, unless the person has done a lot of research, they're always asking me, is the bank going to come after me for the amount forgiven? And lucky for us, in the state of California, we have some anti-deficiency statutes now since the middle of 2011. And of course, I mentioned already the HAFA program provides some of those as well. So what's better for the bank? I had a long conversation with a woman yesterday who was telling me the bank's crazy. She had an appraisal for $275,000, and the bank came back to her and they said they have to have an offer of $350,000. And she said, nobody's going to buy this house for $350,000. It has a hole in the roof, cracks in the ceiling, all sorts of deferred maintenance. So the question becomes, why do bank employees make you feel that foreclosure is a better option for the bank when it's not? Because in that case, the example I just gave you, let's just say the bank doesn't accept the $275,000, the appraised value. What are they going to do? They're going to foreclose and they're going to sell it for $350,000. Nobody's going to buy it for $350,000 because she's saying the appraisal says it's worth $275,000. So it's almost like certain lenders, or I guess the nature of it is that they might be cutting off their nose to spite their face. So what I found is that in most cases, certain employees, particularly at the lower levels, may make you feel that foreclosure is a better option for the bank, but it really isn't. And so what I found to be the most successful is to work around those people, to try and figure out clever strategies to get in front of people that really understand, hey, I have an appraisal for $275,000. You have a BPO for about the same amount. Why in God's name are you asking for $350,000? So it sometimes does require some tenacity, some research. Who's the CEO? How do I contact the executive offices? Things like that. And obviously, that's not something that a lot of agents like to take their time doing, but sometimes that's how you get in front of a person that knows or understands your situation. So, of course, those people that you get in front of, they know that too many bank-owned properties is going to break the bank. Of course, we've almost been through this in 2010 and 2009. I know that you probably know, maybe it was you or maybe some of your colleagues that had 50, 100 REO listings. So what happens? We saw banks fall during that time. We saw, what was it? Lehman Brothers we saw, and IndyMac. That was what was happening. So banks are not in the business to be property management companies. They're not in the business to pay the HOA liens or the HOA dues. And they're certainly not in the business to make the repairs of your home. And of course, do the required maintenance, cut your grass, clean your pool, and pay your utilities, and take care of any city and county code violations that may come up on your property. And banks, as part of your mortgage, of course, unless it's escrowed, they don't plan to pay your property taxes. They're using your money to pay your property taxes. But in the situation, of course, of a short sale, they will pay the property taxes at closing because that's the only way that they can move forward. However, if a bank takes a property in foreclosure, they have to pay for all of the things on this list. If you've ever listed an REO, you know that they start paying the HOA. They have to fix up the property so that it's saleable. They've got to get the gardener out there. They've got to have the heat on in the winter, all those kinds of things. So if you're in a tough situation and you're not able to get your short sale kind of through the hoops at the bank, when you get in front of that person that you think might be able to help you out, you might want to remind them this is the cost associated with you taking it back. And I'm not even including legal fees. Let's just say they're 2 months from foreclosure, the cost of holding the property, then getting it listed, that's another 3 or 4 months holding this property versus kind of cut and bait now and getting it closed in 3 to 4 weeks. So it's really important to kind of remind the person at the bank that you really know what's going on. And, it's not cost effective for them to take this property back in foreclosure. So, of course, this is a crazy market. It has been a crazy market. I see it as a great opportunity to make lemonade out of lemons. We know that short sales aren't particularly easy. They're very, very challenging, but this is a good opportunity to, 1, help people, 2, generate referrals, and 3, keep busy in what has been for many agents a very, very challenging period. If you assess the number of closings in your office in certain years, it's shocking compared to what it was in 2004 and 2005. So this is an opportunity to take advantage of a niche market and just, and just utilize it in order to better your business and better yourself, and of course help people at the same time. So for me, I think that there's 3 powerful ways to kind of stay in control of this short sale market. And the first one is, I always say, don't act like Pigpen or Eeyore. So don't be negative. So remember when the market started to fall, everyone was complaining. And when you complain, you're no fun to be around. In fact, I attended one of those Tom Ferry seminars, and I think he said everyone knows someone in their office who, when that person walks in, the plants start to wilt. Well, that's what I'm talking about. So it's kind of, you got to get geared up. You got to be positive. If you're a salesperson, you're possibly already like that anyway. And of course, the market's real interesting right now. It's a good opportunity for us to maintain balance, not only in the kinds of clients that we sell, so doing a portion of short sales, a portion of regular equity listings, and representing some buyers. This is a great time to have a really balanced portfolio in real estate. And of course, it's important to maintain opportunities with your family and to do things, exercise, hobbies, things like that. But the key, one of the big keys to being successful in short sales, in addition to those 2 things, is to understand the foreclosure process for your state. So I'm going to go over in just a minute the foreclosure process for the state of California. But for those of you calling in from outside of California, There are designations and classes that can help you go through the foreclosure process, understand the short sale process from start to finish. A lot of the classes at the local associations, there's things online, there's free webinars like this. You can do CDPE designation or SFR designation. Those are some designations that are offered that can really, really help you to be on top of your game and very knowledgeable and demonstrate your expertise when working with clients. So in the state of California, this is a great time of year for me to explain this too, because it's the end of the year, so it's easy. So let's just say today, I get a call from Fred Flintstone, and he tells me that he lost his job last week. And he lives month to month, he does no savings. And so on January 1st, he will not be able to make his mortgage payment. So he will miss his January payment, his February payment, and his March payment. At the end of March, so that's that would be like a 3-month period. That's the earliest time that Fred Flintstone's short sale lender can file what's called the notice of default. So that would be around April 1st. And that's the document that gets the short sale process moving. So if you meet a client and they told you they've missed 2 years of payments or 1 year of payments, the first thing that you need to do is figure out, do they have a notice of default? And the way that you do that is you can contact your local title company. Sometimes you can even look on the MLS in the public records section and see if anything has been recorded at the county recorder's office, and it would be listed there. The date on the notice of default is what begins this redemption period that I have at the top of the screen. So if there is no notice of default, despite the fact it's been more than 90 days, then you've got lots of time. But the minute the notice of default starts, there's 111 days until the auction or the trustee sale, or again, if the bank actually files on time. So let's just say in Fred's case, April 1st, the bank files a notice of default. This means you can take a short sale listing anytime. Of course, there doesn't have to be any late payments or anything. But the most common time when most people call you is when they start missing payments or after they've missed 3 or 4 payments. So all of April, all of May, all of June, Fred doesn't do anything. He doesn't want to do a loan modification. He doesn't get a new job, so he can't kind of reinstate his loan. So at the end of July, the bank files the notice of trustee sale. That's a notice that the property is going to be sold at auction 21 days later. So that would be on or around July 21st. So from the time Fred missed his payment, January 1st, until the time that he could actually lose his home, provided that his lender does everything exactly on the date that they're allowed to do it, could be about 6 months and 3 weeks. So, of course, as I mentioned already, we've all met people who've missed lots and lots of payments and nothing's happened. And that's because the bank has maybe decided for some reason or another not to foreclose or not to file a notice of default, or they're very, very behind in their filings. So what I encourage you to do when you're going out to a listing is to really look up the property even before you go to the appointment and find out, is there any foreclosure status on this? Has the notice of default been filed? Has the notice of trustee sale been filed? I've been called 2 days before notice of trustee sale. I was called last week for someone that said the sale is yesterday, Tuesday. And he said, should I list the property? This was the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. I was like, oh my gosh. So, and sometimes with the banks closed and all that, it was going to be hard to postpone that trustee sale in order to do the short sale. So you want to be aware of the dates to find out if what you're being hired to do is actually realistic. So keep that in mind when you're going out to these listing appointments. So I just like that picture. Oh, I seem to have lost it. Sorry. I love this picture as far as it really painted a picture for how a lot of millions of people were feeling in 2009, 2010. And when I go out to meet a homeowner that's still very anxious, that is upside down, that's got some personal problems that they're dealing with, you have to this is how they feel. And, they do say a picture is worth 1,000 words. And this is really a good one for showing that this is how they feel. They're very anxious. They don't know when they're going to get an NOD in their mailbox. The phone is ringing nonstop. Citibank's calling every 20 minutes, pre-recorded messages trying to get them to make a payment. It's really, really tough. So if you're working with short sales, you do know what's involved already. And probably you've been in situations. I know that I am almost every week in a situation where I feel just like this guy in this cartoon. He's stressed out. He's getting mixed messages from the lender, and he's probably tearing his hair out a little bit, because that's you often have to call 2 or 3 times to get one to figure out what's the right answer. So if 2 of the 3 agree, then you know that that's the right answer. So it is extremely frustrating. Or people say they don't see things on the screen that you know are there. It's just a whole bunch of challenging stuff. So you've often felt like this. You've wanted to lose your cool. That's not uncommon. Know that you're not alone. But you can really leverage your time and be more successful and make more money by outsourcing administrative tasks. So for me, we created our service because we felt that agents really want to be in the field. With our experience and our expertise, we've closed over 2,000 short sales for agents throughout the United States. And with our expertise, we know that we can be very efficient. We can prepare things in ways that kind of cut down the time a little bit. And we know who to deal with. We have the contacts necessary to get it done. And of course, if you want to be in the field listing and selling, you may want to outsource these tasks to somebody. Maybe it's someone local to you, or maybe it's to us. But the idea of leveraging your time to build your portfolio in 2014 could include time management and some outsourcing. Now, let me just say, I wouldn't outsource any of this outside the United States. I would keep the virtual assistants to doing other things like email campaigns and things like that. So the average short sale involves 20 phone calls to each lender, 10 faxes or 10 faxes if you're using fax machine, 3 hours of package preparation and a few hours of follow-up, 10 emails to each lender. That's really low. It probably should be like 100. And 2 hours weekly in agent and seller follow-up, because you've got to keep all the people on board. If you're a listing agent, you've got to be contacting your buyer every week. You've got to be following up with your seller, answering his or her questions, things like that. So I kind of calculated it out, and I figured out, I went through this whole thing with time, which I'm not going to read out loud. But basically what I calculated was that the whole process from the time you get an offer on the property until the time you receive short sale approval takes about 48 hours per transaction. So I began to see, wow, if I had 10 of these listings, that's 480 hours of my time over a period of 3 to 4 months. When am I going to have time to do anything else? So that's when I said, well, gee, what do I like? Now, me personally, I love paperwork. I love, when I get it done right. I love that. It gives me a charge. When I feel a feeling of satisfaction. But I know that most agents are salespeople and love to be in the field, and this just infuriates them because it takes them away of the social and fun component of their business. But 48 hours, so that's at times 10 would be 480 hours. So, but no matter if you're going to do it yourself or if you're going to hire someone to do it for you, you still need to market to a specific targeted group of individuals who need your services today. If you're still on a tight budget with regard to your marketing and you want to incorporate short sales into your marketing for 2014, you're going to have to think, maybe you're going to have to think, what am I going to give up? Am I going to give up, refrigerator magnets? Am I going to give up calendars? Am I going to get, what are you going to give up? But there are a targeted group of individuals, and if you market to them, they're like your kindling for your wildfire. And because they know other people that are in trouble, and they're in neighborhoods where people are in financial trouble. And if you market to them, like I said, they not only might you get those listings, but you might get more from that. Remember how I said listings breed other listings in the same neighborhoods? So let's talk about who you can market to that may give you some of that kindling. So borrowers with recent notices of default. So you can, depending on what state you live and where you live, you can get this information yourself. Sometimes the title companies can provide it. But borrowers with recent notices of default are a really good group of people that probably need your help today. Statistics show that if you have a notice of default on your property, you're likely not going to recoup from that. And there's like something like a 40% redefault rate on loan modifications. So anyone that's already in a loan modification and defaulted, they have to go short sale or foreclosure. So get a list, create a postcard, do door knocking, whatever you're going to do. But borrowers with recent notices of default, they need your help. They may not want your help right now, but they need your help. A neighborhood which has many distressed properties. So certain parts of the United States still do have some clumps of distressed properties. And so if you can identify those in your area and you can market to the whole neighborhood, not just the person that you know has the distressed property, because you don't know what goes on behind all the other doors, you can really maybe see some bang for your buck. A neighborhood with a high foreclosure rate. So previously in Riverside County in California, we had skyrocketing foreclosures. So that was a great time to market in that area. I know that parts of Ohio have a lot of vacancies, a lot of foreclosures, a lot of stagnant properties. So you, again, identify, look around, study your market. You could use Realty Track or Foreclosure Radar or Rebo Gateway to do some searches. Now, those are all paid services. You could buy a subscription to one of those in order to identify where you should be marketing, who your targeted group is. But this is by far my favorite. Borrowers with over 100% loan to value. Now, title companies can help you research that information, but one of my favorite ways to do it real quick is to close your eyes right now and think of one of the newer developments in your area. There's a huge one near my house. All of the properties were built between 1999 and 2005. And so if you went in the door in 2000 and you bought the property, let's say the house was 500, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Okay, but I want my granite countertops and I want my stainless appliances. Oh, and oh yeah, I want to upgrade the flooring to wood. And oh, by the way, I want the built-in barbecue and the fancy landscaping. And out the door, I'm paying $800,000. So there are all of those neighborhoods where people, those new developments at that time, if people, depending upon where they are, but many of them still have a lot of people who are upside down. They might have gone in with an interesting loan, maybe an interest-only loan, or they just might have overbought for the time and then properties didn't continue to appreciate. But there might be a little gold mine or nest egg for short sales. So definitely look into that for 2014. So let's talk a little bit about the short sale process in the time we have left. And also, I think I'm going to give you a few case studies. Some things go well with short sale, some things don't. We've talked about that a little bit already. And so we're going to go on to that right now. So, a few years ago, I saw this sign and I thought it was very sad. Foreclosure is like the last exit. So short sale, of course, is an exit before foreclosure on the highway, and using that metaphor, the path to home ownership. It's sad that ends in foreclosure. There are certain things, as I mentioned, that you do or you can do to slow down the short sale process, and we don't want you to do any of those. I say the wrong way is the long way. It's like a construction site. You get like stop signs or slow signs every few minutes, every week. And we're going to talk about some of those things. So oftentimes, one of the things we have going on is if we price the property for what the borrower suggests, that's going to slow down the process. So for example, if you know that the property is worth $700, you can sell it for $700 very, very quickly because you have to sell quickly in a short sale. You can't wait 6 months for an offer. But the borrower wants you to list it at $800 because he looked on another site and he thinks maybe he can not sell it in a short sale and it'll be, maybe he could do an equity sale or maybe it's worth $800. Then that's just going to slow down the whole process, and we don't want that. So, try to work around that by using a modification of terms in order to tell the seller, look, if we don't get your offer price within a certain number of time, then we're going to lower it, get that in writing when you take the listing. Because, if you do it that way and you wait patiently for an offer and you lower the price after 6 weeks, then you've really lost a lot of time. And so you don't want that. You want to be in and out with getting that offer, even if you price a little bit aggressively. You want an offer as quickly as possible, hopefully within less than 2 weeks. And then after 6 weeks, you lower the price and you receive an offer right away, of course, because you knew what price you needed in order to get an offer. And then oftentimes that's 6 or 8 weeks that the agent has not used to collect borrower paperwork. And depending upon the efficiency of the borrower, collecting the paperwork can take 5 minutes or can take weeks. So it's really important to collect the borrower paperwork at the listing appointment. And another mistake that comes up is if you get multiple offers and you submit them both to the bank. I really have not had, except for now with auction.com and NationStar, I've really never ever seen any short sale lender that wants to work with more than one offer at a time. I've had higher offers come in at the last minute, and I've told short sale lenders I have a higher offer in my hands, and they say forget about it. Because it's so time consuming. They just want one offer at a time. If it's not accepted, then we can go on to the next offer later. Wait for the lender to call you. Oftentimes, frustrated or disorganized individuals don't have time to follow up with the lender, so they wait for the lender to call. That does slow down the process. You have to be very, very tenacious and aggressive, not so much in your personality, but in your follow through. And, when you get frustrated like that guy with that espresso concentrate cartoon, you don't want to do anything. You're so irritated. You don't want to follow up with the buyer's agent. It's very, very frustrating. And of course, when you don't follow up the buyer's agent and you wait and you wait and you wait, finally the buyer's agent calls you, but the buyer has walked. And then, of course, what happens right after that? The lender calls you. So this is what you don't want to happen. Here's what you want to happen. You want to sign and collect all the documents at the listing appointment. And to make it easy and less stressful on short sale sellers, I generally would say, hey, why don't you pull out your bank statements, your tax returns, and your pay stubs? I don't tell them about any other, and your mortgage statements, excuse me. And that's it. And then I bring all the other stuff with me. I bring paper. I have them write the hardship letter while I'm at the house. We fill out the financial statement together while I'm at the house. Because if I send all that stuff and say complete it in advance, it becomes overwhelming. So they just have to pull out the 4 different documents I just mentioned, the mortgage statements, the pay stubs, the bank statements, and the tax returns. And I take care of everything else at the listing appointment. And I do it pretty subtly. Sometimes they don't realize we've completed all that paperwork. So you price the property as directed. So I mentioned before, and I want to say again, your goal is to get an offer in under 2 weeks. So you need to price accordingly. There's a neighborhood where I live where there are 75 houses on the market that are between $1 and $2 million. So if I were to take a short sale listing in that price range right now, I would have to price very, very aggressively because I don't want to wait around with the market time. The average market time is like 100 days. I don't have that kind of time with a short sale. My sellers need to get out because they're missing payments or they need to move on for some other reason. So you have to price a little bit aggressively, but not so aggressively that the bank is not going to even look at the offer. Then you'll receive an offer pretty quickly. And then what I do recommend, and we do this in the state of California, for calling from outside of California, you should definitely touch base with your broker or look into whether you can do this. We counter the offer and we open escrow. We don't counter on price because the bank is the one that's going to be determining the price at the end of the day, but counter on some of the other terms. If they're asking or insisting upon a home warranty or closing cost credit from the seller's side, and you don't know if the lender's going to approve those things, then you're going to have to do some artful and clever counter offering to say, we'll submit this to the bank, but if the bank says no, it's not a contingency of sale. So, if you're interested in learning more about how to do that effectively, if you go to shortselexpediter.com and in the sidebar, you can download the free short sale ebook, and there's a whole bunch of information about 14 points that you can use to create an effective short sale counteroffer. And then if you can, open escrow or put the deposit in trust, whatever you need to do, because that will cement that buyer with that property and they won't be out and about looking at a gazillion other properties. And of course, that's when you would submit all your documentation either to my company and we would do the short sale processing for you, or that's when you would start working with the short sale lender. And then if anything comes in, multiple backup offers, other interest, you get more leads, work on those. Don't close your mind to those. You never know if the buyer's going to walk or not. And then hopefully you'll receive approval. So it's a lot more efficient, as you can see, when the seller brings you everything up front, when you don't have to worry about price, when you get all the money into escrow right away, just makes the whole process a lot smoother. So actually, there is a question already on the panel. What are the documents you're talking about for the short sale package? Oh, good thing you asked. Thanks very much. The required documents are on this list here, and you can go to the members section of shortselexpediter.com. Just click on members and sign up as a new member. And you can download any documents that you need for any short sale, blank documents, blank financial statement, authorization form. But here's what you generally need. Now, some of the government programs have a couple of additional forms, but the bank will send those to you if they're not listed on my website. It's because they're constantly changing or they've been updated. So you need an authorization and release form. You cannot talk to the bank unless the seller gives you permission to do so. So that's the first thing that you need. Sometimes buyers say, I'm so frustrated. I want to know what's going on. I'm going to call the bank. The only way that they're going to get any answers from the bank is if they have an authorization and release form that gives them permission to speak to the bank on behalf of the seller. You'll need a financial statement, and there's a blank one on the website. That's where they put down their monthly expenses. You will definitely need copies of all mortgage statements because you'll want to see how many different loans there are on the property, because you have to negotiate probably with more than one if they have more than one mortgage. Copies, as I mentioned, of the pay stubs, the bank statements, the tax returns, and you're also going to need a hardship letter. On the Short Sale Expediter website, there is a good article called How to Write a Short Sale Hardship Letter, but generally it does not have to be 5 paragraphs, just a real brief, I bought the home when I was working as a doctor for such and such a hospital. Unfortunately, I lost my job when the hospital closed and I cannot afford to keep the home any longer. So what has changed in your situation that you are not keeping this home any longer? That's the principal thing that you need to explain in your hardship letter. Now, of course, when you submit your package to the bank, there are some other documents that are required, such as a settlement statement, and sometimes some other things, but generally this is a good start right here. Listing agreement, purchase agreement as well. Okay, moving on. So here's a couple of, I said I'd talk about a few case studies in the last few minutes. Sometimes short sales go really, really well, and sometimes they stink. This was like one of my most exciting short sales ever. It was a condo in Carlsbad, California. It had 2 loans at Bank of America, and the first was a Fannie Mae loan. We submitted the package using their Equator system on February 3rd, and we received a counteroffer on March 4th, so a month later. They task, if you've never used Equator, they task you and they say, upload this, upload that. So the minute we got the task, we uploaded our stuff, always on top of it. We received approval 5 days later, and it was good through the end of April. We actually closed in March. And this was a guy, the seller, who didn't miss any payments. And he did not, in March, he hadn't made his March mortgage payment. And so his agent figured out that if the buyer closes in March, this man would not have any late payments because they would get their money on March 30th. So that's what happened in this case. So this worked out really, really well. It was one for the books as far as the speed. This only happens when everyone is at their super efficient mode, and it's not often that it happens this way. So obviously we had some really great employees at Bank of America at that time working on that short sale. Here's another one that went pretty well, but what was unique about this one is that we had to do a valuation dispute. So this was just one loan, Wells Fargo. We submitted the package at the same time, February 3rd. We received a counteroffer for $60,000 more than the offer price. So we don't know. So we called the agent and say, hey, did you submit a low offer? $60K, that's a big counter difference. That's kind of like what we were talking about earlier with that Fannie Mae, that appraisal and the asking price. And he said, no, it's really, this is a good offer. And so we worked with him to submit some pictures and some photos and do some CMAs. And we submitted all that to the short sale lender, and we received approval on March 11th, and the approval was good through April 30th. So that worked out really well. Sometimes the valuation disputes take a little bit longer, but this one worked out really well. This is where you really need to do a good job. You can't just write a sentence saying, oh yeah, my house has a hole in the roof. You need proof. You need repair bids. You need photos. You need to create, like you're going to court, a compelling argument for why the bank should accept your offer. So this worked out really well. Now, sometimes things don't go very well. And this is a long time ago. And this poor agent, he called us because he was done. He said, I hate this short sale. If you can close it for me, it'll be a miracle. And so we're always up for a challenge. This was 2 loans. One was with Citibank, and the second was a collection agent. And he already had approval with Citibank. But he said the collection agent wants $31,000 and Citi will only give $5,000. Well, we worked on it and we worked on it. We finally got Citi to agree to give 11 to the second, and the collection agent came down to 15. And of course, this was before the rules in California changed. So the seller, who had some money, said that he would pay the other $4,000. So we got permission of Citibank for that to happen. So the seller's thought was, well, I'm paying $4,000 to settle this $100,000 debt. And so it was worth it to me. Again, this is before the anti-deficiency statutes, but it was, we had to go back and forth a lot in order to get this to happen. But, we were able to reduce that $31,000 down to 15. So we felt that was pretty good. So this one was also one for the books. Weird stuff happens in short sales. 2 loans with Bank of America. This was actually just last year, but I haven't had it happen since, but it was pretty funny when it happened. It was 2 loans at Bank of America, was tenant-occupied property through HAFA. So the tenant was going to be getting $3,000 in relocation expenses. So submitted the short sale package without an offer, because that's something that you can do at Bank of America with HAFA. And we did get a pre-approved purchase price, and we were told that the seller is going to get $12,000 in part of the short sale assistance program, an incentive to do a short sale, and the tenant would get $3,000. And so we got everything done, and we finally received our approval on November 5th. And we were trying so hard. It was about Christmas time last year. We're trying so hard to get this closed. We kept on submitting our documentation to Bank of America, the final settlement statement, and nobody was calling us back. And 1 day went by, and 2 days went by, and the buyer really wanted to be in the house, and everyone's going crazy. And so we reached out to some contacts, and we got a call back, and they said, yeah, we can't approve this closing. And we're thinking, well, what now? What now? We can't approve this closing because the seller's actually supposed to get $15,000 and $3,000 to the tenant, not $12,000. So you're going to need to make that change so that we can give the seller the $15,000. So, of course, once everybody heard that the delay was going to be because the seller is going to get $3,000 extra, it was not such a bad thing. So unique and strange things happen with short sales, whether they're a year ago or, in the end of 2012 or in 2013. Short sales are a wild ride. That is definitely for sure. So, as you can see from what we've been talking about for the last hour or so, it takes a lot of different components or factors or facets of your personality in order to do short sale negotiating. It helps to be familiar with the process and with the banks. And it really helps, as in the examples I've showed you, to have contacts at the lending institutions, such as Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and Bank of America, Wells Fargo, all of them. And it is vital to have knowledge of state contracts and state and laws. And from our pictures and from what we discussed, patience is just supremely important. So as I mentioned, we do short sale processing. We're still pretty busy. People ask me all the time, oh, we got 2 packages yesterday. We get, we got about 3 to 4 packages a week coming into our office. So we are pretty busy. We are a California licensed real estate broker, not a foreclosure consultant. We do all of our processing out of our office in North San Diego County. We offer competitive pricing of short sale processing. Everything else is free. Our distressed property education is free. All of our classes are free. The only thing we make money off of is the short sale processing. We offer agent coaching. And we feel that one of the big benefits of working with us is that you can avoid foreclosure scams by having direct contact with our office. I do know that some offices do some subcontracting, but the direct communication is really, really important so that you know that you can trust us, that we're on top of it, that we're doing our job getting your short sales through the system. I did show you this earlier. Anyone that uses our service and anyone on the call today will have exclusive website member access. So please feel free to sign up on the right-hand side in the members section. And you can download any documents you want. You'll get invitations to local events, free webinars, free downloads of important documentation, all sorts of short sale updates. So definitely you might want to take advantage of that. And of course, the benefits of using us is that we crunch the numbers. We submit the short sale package. We generate the HUD-1. I talked a little bit about that, but we do generate the HUD-1 that's required by the bank. That really, really helps to get the short sale approved quickly. We can work with your settlement company, but all of our team has worked in settlement offices before, so we generally know what we need to do to get that done effectively. We review the title report. We like you to review it too, but because of the problem with non-institutional liens and crazy stuff, IRS tax liens, stuff like that, on title, we like to work with you on reviewing the title report, make sure we're going to get this deal closed. We contact the lenders. You, your seller, your team should never have to call the lender. We will do all that for you so that you can be out in the field. We negotiate the lien releases. And we get the approval letter, sometimes more than once, because we're only paid when the deal closes. So if you lose a buyer and we have to put in a new one, that's our thing. So we might have to negotiate the lien releases more than once or get approval letters more than once. But we do all this while you focus on what you do best, which is list and sell property. So last year, and actually we're slated this year to do about the same, 500 approval letters in 2012, and I think we're about 467 so far in 2013. And we've got 99% success rate in obtaining approval letters, but our close ratio, unfortunately, is a little in the 80th percentile, 85%. That's because people change their mind. They decide not to sell. They want to do a loan modification. They want to wait. A buyer walks. All sorts of things happen that can impact the closing. So if you feel like this, overwhelmed by paper, and you'd rather be sitting on top of the world, talking on your cell phone, with sand between your toes, I guess, then I hope you will contact our office. So keep us in mind for any short sale processing or any of our other classes that we offer. You can follow us on Facebook at shortselexpediter.com, on Twitter at my name, Melissa Zavala, or go to shortselexpediter.com, check out the local upcoming events. For those of you still on the call, thanks so much for dialing in today. I'll hang out in case there's any questions. And for those on the pre-recorded call, please email us with your questions at info@shortselexpediter.com, info@shortselexpediter.com, or give us a call at 760-839-3838, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have about short sales or distressed properties in general. So thanks very much. Wishing everyone on the call just a wonderful holiday and a happy new year. And we look forward to working with you in 2014. Best wishes. And bye-bye.